there. I have a couple of tips for you on how to set up an effective art station in your home for making art projects with your art partner. A couple of things you want to consider. First of all, you're going to want a nice, smooth surface to work on that you can comfortably get messy. What I've done is I've put a large piece of foam core, which is a material that you can get in office supply stores or art stores. It is smooth, so it's easy to work on. You can wipe it off if it gets wet. It won't last forever, but it's a really good tool to create an easy, fast, smooth surface and protect your dining room table or any other surface that you don't want to get messy. Alternatively, you could use an old tablecloth, tape it down snugly so that it doesn't rumple up under you if that's a concern. You might also put down newspapers and tape those to your table, especially if you're working with dry materials, because then you don't have to worry about transferring the ink from the paper onto your hands. You could use a drop cloth. You could use a large piece of tag board or poster paper. The idea is that you just protect your furniture and have a nice smooth surface that won't wiggle when you're working on it. If you have a large cutting board or a piece of plywood, you could also go for something like that. Once you have your surface figured out, think about the lighting where you're set up. I don't know if you can see this in this video, I don't think you can, but I have an overhead light here and I'm also beside a window. Both are really good options so that you can see clearly when you're creating. You might also think about what sort of ambient noise can be heard from the location that you've chosen. Try to choose a quiet place so that you won't be distracted with maybe traffic noises or voices. And now, table height and chair height is another thing to consider. You and your art partner just want to be comfortable. So if you can comfortably rest your arms on the table and even make with a little support from your elbows, so be able to use your hands while resting your forearms on the table, that's ideal. A back to the chair is also nice and maybe a little cushion. So as far as what you should have in your art kit, primary materials are good to keep on hand. I like to keep everything in just a handy paper bag. You can use a grocery bag, you could use a shopping bag, or reusable shopping bag would be excellent. I happen to have this nice bag from the Frye that I use for my goodies. And I'm just going to run through a basic art kit with you. So with this kit, you'll be able to work with either dry or wet materials. So wet materials, that just means painting. So I have a little recycled container here with a lid that doubles as both a water container for my painting water and also a container to keep my tube watercolors handy. Okay, so I keep my paints in there. Helps me stay a little bit organized. I also have a couple of different choices of paint brushes, and again, using a recycled container for paint mixing. I have a glue stick in my kit, a pair of scissors, a pencil with an eraser, and then an extra eraser. And then just a selection of water-based markers. Now, water-based markers are nice because they'll come off your hands if you get them on your fingers. They wash out of clothes easier. But if you are using them in combination with painting, just keep in mind that water-based markers will run, which in itself can be pretty fun. But if you'd like for your marker marks to stay intact as you add paint over the top, you might want to go with a permanent marker for those projects. I also have in this paper bag just a handful of pastels that look like this. I like to use water-based oil pastels, and that's what these are, and I just have a few different colors in a separate paper bag so that they don't get on anything else in my art kit. I also have a folder. This keeps my paper from getting wrinkled, and I have lots of different types of options in here. I have a smaller envelope that contains just random shapes that could be fun to use in a collage, and I keep those in an envelope so they stay organized and tidy. I have some examples of patterned paper that's fun for collage projects. You could collect greeting cards or magazine pages, put those in your folder. I also have some full sheets of colored paper to work on. This is cardstock. And then finally, I also have some neutral colors to work on. This is also cardstock. And then a couple of pieces of watercolor paper. And those are all in this handy folder. Last but not least, I have some paper towels in case things get messy, and some painter's tape. And painter's tape comes in handy for all kinds of things. I like it because it's low tack, so look for this blue painter's tape if you would like a tape, I should say, that won't harm surfaces. So if you are hanging your finished artwork up after you make it, which is a great use for this tape, to create a little art show, this won't hurt your walls or your fridge or wherever the art is going. And it's also good, remember earlier I talked about maybe needing to take down newspapers or your work surface, and this can go onto your dining room table without leaving residue. And then finally, just a rubber band. And I like to just keep things together, so like materials, all the markers, I will wrap up like this so that when I grab it, I get all of them at the same time. And then everything just goes into my bag. All right, so I hope you have fun setting up your art station. Happy making.